My name is John Cook. I'm the very proud president here at STCC. I have the opportunity to offer a welcome to everyone. Thank you for being here on a Friday morning. The sun is shining. You are in our new building, and for us, new is old. This building is about 160 years old and had been vacant on campus for about 50 years. And we had only been in it for about a year before the pandemic hit. So we're thrilled to get back to some of this type of work where we can welcome, be a host, and certainly a very important forum like this to talk about business and business for our communities of color in particular. So I don't want to belabor it, but again, this is Building 19, our Student Learning Commons. We're thrilled to do this. We're thrilled to welcome the Senator, Senator Gomez. Thank you so much. He's not a stranger. He's in fact family to this college. He knows us very, very well. So we're thrilled to always have him back. But again, a warm welcome everyone for being here this morning. There is certainly coffee and refreshments. Certainly on the end of it, there'll be plenty, so take some with you for family and friends. But I'm thrilled to have everybody here today. Let me thank in advance our team who also helped behind the scenes help put this together. We've got a few of our administrators here, our Assistant Vice President of Advancement and External Affairs, who's the facilitator, Dr. Shea Butler. Shea, thank you so much for this work and for your team here. Thank you. We also have our interim assistant VP of Workforce Development in the back, Gladys Franco. No stranger to a number of folks here. It's good to have Gladys in the mix too. Thank you. So with that, let me turn it over to Armando Oliveras, staff for the Senator. And again, thrilled to have this forum this morning. Thank you, everybody. Welcome.
All right. Good morning, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys this morning. You guys all look amazing. Thank you for taking the initiative to be here this morning. So I have the pleasure of introducing these phenomenal individuals on stage who are going to be our moderators this morning. I'd like to start with Senator Adam Gomez. State Senator Adam Gomez, he is a Democrat from Springfield. He's a lifelong a native of Western Massachusetts. He's a proud Boricua, a father of three, a former small business owner, and a tireless advocate for veterans and Black Latino communities. He is also the first Latino from the Hampton District to serve in the Massachusetts State Senate. His personal beliefs and experiences have driven his years of advocacy work through social justice issues such as criminal justice reform, immigrant rights, education issues, and civil rights. He has served as a member of various boards of local organizations in his district, many of which directly serve the Latino community. Prior to becoming the state senator for the Hampton District, he served as a Springfield city councilor. Senator Gomez proudly serves the Hampton District consisting of three communities, Springfield, West Springfield, and Chicopee. He serves as the Senate Chair of the Joint Committee on Children, Families, and Persons with Disability, and is the Vice Chair of the Joint Committee on Election Laws. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Adam Gomez. I now have the privilege of introducing Dr. Shea Butler. Dr. Shea Butler joined STCC in June of 2021 as the Interim Vice President for Advancement and External Affairs. She has worked diligently these past few months to be a bridge that connects the college with the community and the region. With over 2 decades of experience in higher education and diversity work, Dr. Shea is a speaker, a writer, an influencer on leadership, mentorship, sponsorship, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and gender parity. Her research on educational access for low-income students opened the door for her to receive the 2014 invitation from the White House to be one of the 60 educators participating in a conference on increasing the number of youth and traditional college-age students of color majoring in STEM fields. Dr. Shea Butler also conducted webinars for national professional associations and is currently an executive contributor for the premier industry global publication, higheredjobs.com. Dr. Shea Butler is a proud mother of 3, Chantal, Koa, and Nori, and a wonderful wife to Dr. Odo Butler. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Shea Butler.
Thank you, Armando. I like to say, mom of 3, wife of 1. And so thank you, Senator, for joining us today. And thank you so much for when you thought about having this important conversation, thinking of STCC, thinking of STIC as your partner.
I think it's really important to partner, especially with this institution. It's being the lifeblood of Springfield for a very long time. We're sitting in a historic building. We heard from Dr. Cook, this building has been here for 160 years. And I think that once we start engaging back into, after these last 2 years, what the pandemic has done, being to implement and show people that, you know, we're open for business. Black and brown businesses are open for business. But STCC has been a place where I guess, learned how to become an entrepreneur, and also got a couple skills from the different classes and the programs that STCC offered, and just happy to be here. Honestly, this is a place that I do call home.
Yes, thank you. And please, audience, know that while we're having an initial conversation, we're inviting you all in. So think about questions that you may have as the conversation progresses. So I'm going to begin by asking you, why this forum? Why now?
I think we're in a position right now that we are trying to figure out how to commingle, I would say, with COVID-19. We're trying to coexist. It's been 2 years up to the point where the nation shut down. And we've seen extraordinary circumstances that arose during the pandemic. And I think it's important now, during this important time in my legislative season, which we know that the governor has issued his H2 budget. The House is going to be going into their budget season. And now, in May, the Senate is going to be going into their budget season. So I think it's fairly important for me to, when I'm going into my conversations with leadership, that I bring back the stories and what's going on here in the Hampden District back to the Chairman of Ways and Means to be able to advocate for the organizations and the institutions that are really on the ground working with these individuals that need this extraordinary help. So I thought that this is one of many things that I'm trying to get involved with to understand what's happening on the grassroots level. I think folks don't fairly have that representation, being the first Afro-Latino to the Massachusetts State Senate. Just recently, we elected, again, Lydia Edwards from Boston, now the only black woman on the state Senate. At the time, for a year, other than Sonia Chang Diaz, I felt like I was the only voice for the state of Massachusetts when it came to economic development, economic empowerment. So now, you know, we have extraordinary challenges still ahead of us, you know, building with these organizations like the Latino Chamber, Black and Brown Wall Street, ABBP, which is the Association of Black Business and Professionals, and also with our local nonprofits. I just had to hit the ground running because it was imperative for me to show up for my community.
Yeah, and show up you have. Thank you. Yeah. So COVID has certainly hit our communities very hard, and that includes our businesses. What are you seeing, or what have you seen as some of the challenges that you hear about in your office that small businesses and BiPOC businesses in particular are facing?
One is the technical assistance of understanding, because there's this narrative of there's a lot of resources and a lot of grants and a lot of money that coming from the municipality or from the state or the federal government, whatever level. You know, first it was the CARES Act money that came, then there was the ARPA, and then what we've seen at the time, I wasn't a senator when COVID started, but what we had seen was that there were some businesses that didn't qualify because they were startups or they were micro businesses or too small for these resources, that some of them still, and I give it to them because our communities are ones that, you know, we made something out of nothing. You know, we figured it out. We started in our houses or in our basements, and we made it work. And then before COVID and the pandemic, you know, the economy was booming, and we were in a point that people were investing in brick and mortar. And what inevitably happened, COVID hit. It hit us with a gut punch. And with industry really coming to a halt, individuals that started their kitchens, their restaurants, their businesses that with suits or whatever commodities that and services they were offering, weren't able to make money. And then for a very long time, because of red tape or bureaucracy, trying to figure out how these resources are going to reach to the grassroots, where kind of I like to say that I'm deeply rooted. It really was an awful experience as one city council member from a district that is predominantly Latino. It's Afro-Latino. And then from there, having the business district in my district, Ward 1. And I knew at that moment in time, Black and brown businesses, we talk about this pandemic, but we've been going through epidemics for so very long time of different circumstances. And I think to break that cycle, those generational issues, it took a team to come together and say, listen, we need to strike when the iron's hot, regardless of the world seems to have been on a standstill, because bills still need to get paid, rent needs to get made, and then from there, people's dreams, hopes, and wants, and the ways that they feed their family are in jeopardy.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me? I know I feel like I've been grilling you.
No, absolutely, it's fine. Moreover, the reason why I wanted to partner with Springfield Technical Community College was to obviously be able to bridge the gap between the government and obviously educational institutions, and wondering what are the certain things that business owners that are here with us today that could acquire from the college.
Yeah.
And specifically, we talked about technical assistance. What are the different programs and things that you guys are doing here at the college that could help assist some of these individuals on that track of becoming a micro business to eventually becoming a full-blown, bankable small business that eventually can invest into a brick and mortar?
Well, thank you for that question. I'll address it at a very high level, and then I'll open it up to my colleague, Gladys Franco, who can speak maybe more specifically to those technical aspects of it. But one of the things I definitely feel that we can offer as a college are the professional development opportunities. Through our workforce development division, we offer a range of courses and classes that small businesses can take advantage of, technical assistance being one of them. We have a history of helping entrepreneurs. You went through the program here. We have in our audience Gilberto, who was a leader in building and creating entrepreneurs here through STIC. So we have, through our workforce solutions and workforce development, that's one of the things that we can certainly offer in the area of professional development. But I'd also say programmatically, what COVID has done has provided opportunities in the virtual space for leadership development. So we offer a number of programs where we bring in national experts to speak on a range of topics around leadership, around women in leadership, around BiPOC, issues that matter to BiPOC communities. And these are open to the public and free. So checking in with our website, looking at our press releases and our media releases in which we talk about some of these programs. So always being on the lookout for what programs we're offering in the community, I think is another thing that our business leaders may want to take advantage of. And then we have a program called Career Coach here, and it's also in the workforce development area. And Career Coach is a place where job postings can be listed. So I do believe that if you're looking for talent, taking advantage of that software tool, we can certainly help walk individuals through how to get a position posted. And then lastly, internships. I think it's a way to give back and pay forward by, I don't know, are there any STIC alumni in the audience here today? Anyone who's come through? Okay. Well, there's one on the way back. But, taking advantage of helping either a young person or one of our adult career changers find opportunities to learn the profession by being an intern. So working for your business as an intern, if you don't have a lot to pay an employee, but you need work that needs to get done and you're willing to coach and teach and bring someone along, I would encourage creating internship opportunities. So those are a few things that are top of mind, but as others, I'm certainly open to hear. Maybe Dr. Cook or Gladys might think of some others that they may want to share.
Sure, I think that you did a great coverage of the different services that we offer, but within the workforce development division, we also provide opportunities for the entire community to engage in courses such as English for entrepreneurs or basic computer skills for entrepreneurs, customer service, leadership development, and a whole host of other courses that we could customize based on the needs of our business community. And also, we can collaborate on grant funding through the Commonwealth Corporation and other sources to provide training to incumbent workers in the community as well.
This is great, Senator. You know, turning the microphone this way, the mirror up. And I think for everyone here, this is really important for us to, at the very least, be listening and to hear from all of you about what your needs are. I mean, what I thought about with the question is sometimes we're the long play. You know, associate's degree, even though we say 2 years, can sometimes take 3 or 4 years. That's too long for a lot of you sometimes. With the kind of skill set you need to build, the questions you have, you need answers a lot sooner than that. So as much as we think the investment is still worthwhile, we want to hear, we want to listen about your needs. As we heard, you know, we do everything from high set GED kind of work, you know, getting that foot in the door, English language learning pieces, all the way through our degrees. And I was looking at our business degree. We have a degree in business. Gives you a chance to really, at an incredibly affordable rate, take classes on business law, finance, accounting, entrepreneurship. Again, really kind of sit in there and have a chance to do some writing and thinking about that plan and how to get to that, and the idea of how to navigate the red tape, the bureaucracy. So we definitely have that backbone there. But again, we want to listen and we want to hear from all of you about how to be more responsive. You know, we want to be that connector sometimes. What we hear a lot is in other larger spaces, other industries, we have all these job openings and we have other people over here say, you know, I can't find a job. The in-between is those of you who are your own business owners and developers, you're trying to find your own pathway. You have a passion, you're creative. Again, how do we listen and be responsive as a college to that? We want to be part of that glue, Senator. We want to be part of that sort of facilitation, that collaboration for all that. Are we, you know, is our toolbox as built out as we need to be? We want to listen and hear more about that too. I appreciate that.
I think it's really important for us to understand the resources that do exist. I know that consistently we tend to, and I can speak, take it off my senator hat. I remember when I was opening my business, and you know, if I didn't have my close supporters, family and friends around me, and the ones that were entrepreneurs, you know, and you know, granted, I was blessed to have met Gilberto Amador at a very young age. And even though at that moment when I went through that entrepreneurship program, I didn't open my business right after, but it took opening up a business is a roller coaster ride. You know, you have ups, you have downs, and you know, during this time that we have just endured in the last 2 years, made things very, very extraordinary for business owners. But one thing that I have seen is, you know, the need through this time, and I think people felt how would I put it? They felt that they needed a piece of their own, and I've seen the uptick of home ownership, and that's one of the things that outside of starting a business, people want to build generational wealth. That's one of these things. They want to be able to leave something back for their kids. And I've seen a lot of people in the Black and brown community become brokers, have got into the industry of selling homes, helping people acquire and become homeowners. And that has been something that I thought was so interesting, because even myself, I still rent, but at the same time, in the same vein, even looking for a house in my own neighborhood because of the industry, it's been fairly difficult for me as a senator to really make that happen. So outside of starting a business, at the same time, you want a place and a roof over your head, and I understand that there's extraordinary needs with that too. So if you're a business owner and you're struggling to pay rent for your business, you're also having probably some housing issues as well. And that's why it's important for us to understand, why you're working and you're working towards that degree, that there is assistance that's there to help you and your family, for you to be successful, for you to be able to thrive. And that's what I think, what I'm trying to get the point across is, the senator's position is more of, I like to use myself and my office as a tool, just like the college. We were elected for the people, by the people, and this office, whatever the circumstances or the resources, let it be business or not, my office is ready, and really ready, because I have an amazing team from my district, Armando Olivares and Mari Jackson, my district director, and I have a phenomenal Boston team I've been blessed with, but we're really ready to meet the needs of our constituents, business or not. But on a business standpoint, just to keep on moving into that direction of, tools, what we mean by that is that we have to make it easy for Black and brown businesses to be able to access the programming, access the ability to be able to, not make it so hard for us to get to those resources. And sometimes there's barriers and walls that are created that really, during these times, there's, it could be a mental health crisis. It could be certain things that create those issues that make it feel like you're alone or it's impossible. But I promise you, sometimes with due diligence, things will get brighter, you'll come out on the other side, but it's, the know-how, the willpower within you, and that's the best part of it. Outside of it, it's telling yourself, today, I'm gonna wake up, and today I'm gonna get my grind on. And I like to be a little bit informal. Everybody kind of knows kind of my style, but for the most part, every single business has the opportunity to being great. You just have to believe in your product first. It's not going to be sometimes, a family or friend that's going to walk in and support you. It's going to be a complete stranger. And that's one thing that I learned, that it wasn't at first when I got into public office, it wasn't a friend or a person that was necessarily there for me. You have your inner circle, a couple friends, but your life is going too. But at the same time, it was the complete strangers that kept on keeping me pushing. And not the, and also the good Lord, obviously, but that comes first. But I would like to open it up to you guys to be able to ask me or myself, Shai, any questions, or tell me about an experience that you guys are going through that my staff we can take the notes and get the information for you, so we can be able to see how we can work on those challenges with you, so we can be as supportive as possible.
I think I got the mic first. This is Eric Weiss from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and you and I talked the other day. I would love to hear you talk more about inclusivity and equity in the economy and how that plays into everything we're talking about, the college and all the other pieces that are here. And I know that's a big topic, but I know that's an important part of this whole discussion.
Well, where do you start? First and foremost, and I get kind of highly, I run hot when it comes to when we talk about equity, Shai, because in certain circumstances, we already believe that the system wasn't necessarily built for individuals that look like us, right? Wasn't built for us to win. But the greatest thing that they taught us, and especially goes back to the days of the inception of how this great nation was created, was that one thing that they didn't want us to do was, they didn't want us to learn how to read. They didn't want us to become educated. They didn't want us to learn how to understand economics. And there was institutions just like this that were created to make it close to a point that affordable for us to be able to work a part-time job, which what I had to do, to be able to get educated on entrepreneurship. And I think that once we make sure that we have programs and also partners that are willing to make it a little bit more of a level playing field, because I hate to put my politics in it, but some individuals started 400 years ahead of us. That's just the truth, and it's the God's honest truth. And then with our communities, the Latino community, regardless if you were Dominican, Puerto Rican, Central American, South American, we have this strong language barrier. And then when you look at the things that are in front of us, if they become fairly, I would say, politicized in nature, and sometimes you end up having to maybe wash one hand to wash the other, but that's not necessarily equity. I think everybody that wants to apply for a grant or apply for a certain, let it be a home or let it be for a business plan, it shouldn't be the relationship you build with an elected official, but everybody should have a level playing field and a fair shot to be able to attain that resources. And when you put different barriers in front of people, let it be, you didn't start in the last 2 years, you just started your business 6 months ago, you're still a business that's struggling. Mm-hmm. And I think that those are things why legislators like myself try to tackle the red tape to make sure that individuals like me and you are able to attain some of those resources fairly easy. If I apply and I meet the requirements, there should be, or depending on how I write my business plan, this is where the technical assistance comes in, right? Like the Latino Chamber, or shout outs to Tiffany and Alicia with Black and Brown Wall Street that we've been partnering for the last, I think, 2 months now doing workshops, and she's been doing it for free in partnership with VVM, Valley Venture Mentors, to help individuals, businesses, to be able to help with the ARPA. We've talked a little bit about that, the ARPA process when it comes to the municipality. Obviously on the state side, there's also other resources that we're gonna be handing out some pamphlets to you guys at the end, so you guys can work with my office and also with STCC. But equity doesn't necessarily mean equitable. And what that means is, we want to make sure, regardless if you have learning disability, if you have issues that are, that you need help with, regardless of your circumstances, color, creed, that you have a fair chance of reaching success and thriving, and that you don't have barriers that are holding you away from being able to achieve that dream or achieve those resources. So on an equitable standpoint, to answer your question, because it could get, we can talk about that just in one session, but we want to make sure that regardless of what you look like, no matter where you come from, when you come to the Hampton District or you come to the United States of America, that everybody has their fair shake.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And that's for everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I have maybe 3 questions kind of for the 4 individuals that just spoke. But I definitely wanted to start by thanking you for your service, Senator Gomez. You are always on the ground, and you are always going in with us for our community. And then I also want to thank STIC. So I'm not a STIC alumni, but way back in the day, I actually got some of my technical assistance and professional development as a youth because I used to go to FutureWorks. I think it's now called YouthWorks, but I definitely was able to access those resources. We had National History Day here for Springfield Public Schools. There's just so much that STIC was involved in. Okay, so organize my thoughts. In terms of, we'll start with the easiest one, technical assistance. I had no idea STIC had all of that, and I know Gladys, so that's so phenomenal. That being said, I am a part of Black and Brown Wall Street, where I'm trying to connect the deepest parts of our communities to these resources. And first and foremost, we have to recognize that there's a lot of trauma interacting with resources, workshops, community development opportunities. So really navigating that is a lot. Black and Brown Wall Street has become a safe space, but we're also a broke space. So I would love to connect with places like STIC to figure out how to maximize on the opportunities you already have, even if it's just a mutual fire letter and an access point saying that this is a safe place to get these assistance. So who do I talk to? How do I get partnered with that? That's one. Two, you referenced housing, Senator Gomez, and I'll be remiss to not point out the fact that Springfield has a serious housing crisis. And it's not just for those that are poor. So you're renting now, but unfortunately, you might be renting longer because according to our city's, impediments to fair housing, high-grossing Afro-Latinos and Black people get denied 3 times more for housing opportunities and mortgages and buying homes than our white peers, and we make the same, if not more. So unfortunately, that intersectionality with housing is so perverse, and I don't know who has the answer to this, but we have so much research on it. How do we start really impacting that? And then lastly, of course, the big one, ARPA. I just want to take a moment to talk about your point of equality isn't equity. And Springfield has such a ridiculous example of that now. So long story short, and of course, tap me out, Senator, whenever you feel like it. But long story short, Springfield received it's actually the anniversary today, March 11th. That's when Joe Biden signed into the law, President Joe Biden, the American Rescue Plan Act. And again, it was supposed to save all of us because those first rounds of funding, CARES Act, all of those things, we couldn't access those as individuals. So they started passing out millions. Springfield specifically, on our Black and brown and low income and minority demographics, received $127 million. That, or 123, they're saying. That happened in May of 2021. The first thing that was spent was on a property in downtown Springfield for $3 million. Since then, only 16 businesses have been awarded under the categories of small business and nonprofit, and there's 6 categories in totals. When we talk about equity and equality, access to these funds, out of those 16, 2 of those, for example, in the nonprofit sector were awarded, one of them being the Forest Park Zoo, so literally animals getting money before the humans do. And secondly, under nonprofit, I reiterate, the Basketball Hall of Fame got $50,000. And while we know it's an asset to our city and our community, they can hit up 5 NBA players and be straight. We don't have that access. So in terms of equity and equality, everyone is equally accessing this money, but equitably not so much. That being said, $15 million has already been moved to Econ Dev for a Build a Better Brat program, knowing that the infrastructure bill has already passed and we're gonna get funds down the line for that. So while, yes, the money is flooded around, it's a pandemic economy, it's everywhere, in terms of who's accessing it and how we could be using it to solve Springfield's and Hamden County's problem, we're at a loss at what to do, and it's not because we don't want it. It's not because we don't need it. It's literally systemic oppression and racism. And thank you, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission and all these other organizations that has so much data available to us on what's actually happening in our community. You can Google Springfield PDFs, and there's just so much information about what's happening, where's the intersections at. So I guess my overall question is, I absolutely love that this roundtable is available, but what is the tangible things that we can do that improves the access point instead of this just being a conversation? That's it.
Wow. Well, I'm gonna take the first part, which is easy. Contact Gladys or I.
Okay.
And we will certainly connect you to any of the resources. We know how and who, so we'll connect you to the resources at STIC. Now, all that other stuff, I will turn it over.
No, one, we know that Springfield, just to back up a little bit, Springfield, we're down 10,000 homes. Not necessarily actual homes, but places, roofs, where people live. There's about a downward spiral of about 10,000 homes that we need to answer to the call when it comes to the housing crisis. Right now, some housing advocates are saying that for the state of Massachusetts to be able to get through the rest of this pandemic, the endemic, we need somewhere around the number of $700 million. And we're not talking about businesses, we're talking about stabilization. From there, in talking with organizations like Wayfinders, they had more of a modest number when we spoke to them. It was $450 million. So depending on who you talk to, and obviously the industry, that we're in, we know that the region is suffering. We know that Western Massachusetts, because we have just went through a census, has been depopulizing And what I mean by that, people are moving out of here because the resources and the economic footprint isn't what it used to be, and it doesn't seem feasible, specifically when it comes to black and brown people that become professionals, because our professionals are moving out of here. They're following the money, they're moving to bigger cities, and then from there, we end up with that workforce issue, that gap, which obviously, are individuals that are educated here, that, from Springfield school systems to, let it be if it's a charter school, went to Springfield Technical Community College, got their degrees in the Knowledge Corridor, then they move and they take their resources and, like LeBron did, they took their services down to South Beach. And, what we want to do is be able to let people know that they can stay home, that home is where the heart is, and, we want to make sure that we are bringing industry and big business to be able to associate our black and brown people, not only to become business owners, but to become, part of that workforce and get these good paying jobs that are available. Then going back to the equity part, we have some organizations that like to service the black and brown community, but when you look at their officers, they don't look like us. But then they say, Senator, we need your resources. And I have to go figure and think about, yes, you might be serving my community, but essentially you're not giving our community the opportunity to lead either. So when it comes to what can we do to try to break those barriers down, I hate to sound like Bernie Sanders, but it's a political revolution. We get mad at the person at the top and say, hey, it's his fault, but we gotta look around and look at our friends and family. I was like, did you vote? Did you get involved? What was it that, where was the breakdown? Like, I'm gonna be honest, when I represented Ward 1 in Springfield, it's 18,000 people in a ward. And this is no shade or no hit towards the current administration or any other legislators, because we all work in tandem and in partnership, because when we work with community, it's important to work in partnership. And if it's city councilors, whoever, each ward has 18,000 people. The most votes that I ever received in Ward 1 was 1,500. All right, that's less than 10% just in Ward 1. There's 156,000 odd people that live in the city of Springfield. The people that elected the mayor was about somewhere around 11,000 people. That's during a municipal election. Like, if people want change, and I'm not telling you to go and start a revolution, when I mean political revolution and ideology is there's neighborhood boards that we can become a part of. There's also ward committees, which could be the Democratic committee or the Republican committee, or there's certain platforms where maybe it's not elected office, but you want to get involved with what's going on down the street, what's going on around in the footprint of your neighborhood. I remember before I was doing basketball tournaments, this is how it all started with me. And we just wanted to do basketball tournaments so then we can give book scholarships to kids that grew up in the same neighborhood as us, because once I got the stick, I didn't realize that I had to buy books. I didn't realize that I needed to pay for that. It was extraordinary. And then I had to, man, God bless her, so Miss Carpenter, my boy Sean Carpenter, she was my counselor here. God, man, I can't believe I remember her name. And she gave me a book waiver. And that right there meant so much, because at the time, one thing we don't talk about is the extraordinary circumstances of, young people, we make mistakes. So when I was 17, I was charged with the mandatory minimum, possession with intent, right? I got caught with some, now it's legal, I got caught with some smoke. And they charged me as an adult, and I lost my financial aid. So, and at the time, I'm gonna be transparent, I was looking for a job. I worked as a lifeguard. The YMCA gave me a job. So I was working part-time and taking my check and coming straight here to the business office to pay my monthly, because they do monthly payments, to pay my monthly my monthly bill. And at the same time, granted, I was blessed to have mom and dad to be able to, I didn't have to figure out rent, but that's not the circumstance for everybody. And I think that, we're at a point now that, those are the reasons why we have to be involved with who is elected in making decisions. If it's your ward counselor, your at-large city councilor, even your neighborhood. Like, Facebook always tells you what's going on. Coño, tu pajos. I was like, coño, tu otra. Like, do you vote? Like, you know, like these certain, do you know the proper channels to call the Economic Development Department or DPW or the leaders in your community that could probably alleviate and help you do those things and get to get to those resources. And I'm not going to lie to you, some of those resources aren't cut that clean either. There's also bureaucracy within the nonprofits, bureaucracy within the neighborhood. You know, as much as people say, I don't get into politics, there's politics involved with anything. And politics doesn't mean always politricks, right? Politics always means there's a way to get involved and fix the issue. And I think that 6 years ago, if I told you I was going to be a state senator, yeah, right. I'm going to be honest, when I told Jose, I said, when we talked, it was funny. Jose Claudio, shout outs to one of my mentors, he's here with us from New North Citizens Council. I remember we're in the park and we're going through this issue. And you know, we've always been talking about entrepreneurship and business and trying to make sure, how do we keep the dollar in the Latino community, right? How do we bounce it around and make sure that it stays in, we're growing generational wealth. And at the time, I think it was Freddie and Armando, we were just in the, you know, raising hell all over the community, but, you know, we had the good heart. We were trying to do the best things that they were always telling us, Coño, guys, slow down, you guys are, and then when we think back, we were like, God, we were crazy. But sometimes you need to be crazy to flip the table.
That's right.
You have to do unorthodox things to say, you know what, no disrespect, and I always said it, because he's my spiritual father, and I always say that. I used to always talk to him and say, "Oh, Jose, it's no shade. I gotta do this. I feel that I have to do this. My people are telling me that I need to do this," because you're always gonna have a two dynamics of, you know, good cop, bad cop, or in the middle of that, how do we bring everybody together, right? And we just said, hey, we're just gonna run because young people, young voices, voices of the voiceless, elderly, need a voice, business owners that don't know, just know how to just count, you know, and just know how to, you know, organically sell a shirt or just try to figure it out little by little from the street corner to the barbershop. And then we just said, hey, we're gonna run. And we're going into this, we're gonna lose the whole time, you know, shout out to Jafar Robles that's no longer with us, but we ended up winning because people believed in change. People believed in passing the baton. Because I can't believe that even though I'm 38 years old, that I have all the answers as well. But collective, as the collective majority, as working with individuals that might seem crazy, that might seem off, might have something there that is gonna bring the glue and bring it all together and look at a different perspective to find a solution to the issue. I might not have all the answers today, but I promise you, this office, and obviously the partnerships that we're working with the community, there is going to be a brighter side to this, and the thing is that the only way we're going to get together, just like you guys need support, I need your support too.
That's right. Often there's this belief that individuals within the system have the power to change the system, but really it takes a collective. And the need for, and I used to tell this to some of my students that I would mentor, you know, act up and get in good trouble to force my hand to be able to say, you know, look at these students out here. They're just in a rage because we're not getting book vouchers out quick enough, right? So it's about that partnership. It's about being able to leverage power to break down systemic biases, individually as well as collectively. Thank you for that, Senator. Other points?
Then you and then you. You first and then
I'll
you.
yield to you first because I'm a gentleman.
After you.
Awesome. Good morning. My name is Maria Isabel Davila from Davila Pagan Enterprises. How are you?
How are you?
Good. I'm here with my team because I wanted to speak to you guys about how we feel as minority in a business setting. My team come from a diverse relation within the community. I have people that have come from shelters, people that have been incarcerated, people that have not been given second chances, people that have been given the back when they need help and that have struggled. I feel that our system is broken to the point where it comes from education system all the way to assistance for these people. And I want to say how the educational system focused so much on obtaining grants from federal government that they only focus in teaching children 4 hours of English, 4 hours of Spanish, math, so they could get grants. They forget about other things that they need to learn, like history, how to be in a business setting. I get a lot of students in my office where I coach them and I do externship. They don't even know how to use a fax. They don't know how to use a computer properly. They don't know how to, I mean, I had for example, I had a young lady who was doing externship in my office, and she questioned how did a paper so square could go through a tiny cable. She couldn't figure out how the paper fit. And I'm thinking, she's in college. How does she not know that? She said, they didn't teach me that in college. And I'm thinking, wow, you know? Then we have other people that have come out of jail and they have gone through so much that they want to do better, but then everybody turns their back and they're thinking, I don't have anything else to do but go back to the street to make money. And I think that's unfair because that's how they go back to being criminals. So in our office, we give them a chance to become business owners. So we train them and we give them the tools and we don't charge them. And we register their business and then we make a business owner out of them. And then they could give that same opportunity to other people. So my question to you, Senator Adam, is how can we change the system in Springfield to help these people? How can we change, for example, the welfare system? Welfare keeps everybody in a box. If they go to school and they make $3 more, they kick them out of welfare. They don't give them daycare, so the moms cannot go to work because they can't have anybody babysit their kids, so they have to go back to welfare. So there are a lot of potential females and males that can work and that they could contribute to our community, but they can't because the system is so broken down that they want to keep us low. They want to keep us in the welfare system. They want to keep us, you know, without growing. So how can we change that? How can we improve ourselves? How can we grow as minorities, as business owners, when we are put in that box?
One, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing within the community. I know you're helping a tremendous amount of people.
Thank you.
Secondly, there is a way to deal with those circumstances, and that's legislatively. So this year, I don't have the bill number in front of you, but I'll be happy to share that with you once you contact my office. It's called the cliff effect, right? There's a real issue with when it comes to certain circumstances that they keep people money poor, but not service poor. So when it comes to the services, you know, a lot of the services that we take as a community, you would think that if we were paying market rent without the subsidy, it's a way of strategically keeping people generationally poor. And to break that cycle with certain circumstances, we have to break that cycle through legislation. That system, like I said before, was created not to necessarily benefit incarcerated people. I shared with you guys a little bit of thing that kind of felt like that held me down, and the way that I climbed out of that was becoming an entrepreneur, having entrepreneurial spirit, because then there wasn't qualifications saying, well, you got a record, I can't hire you. That's right. You know, so I said, well, you know what, I got to become my own boss, right? Like I have to figure out how I'm going to break those chains, right? And it's like, I like this, you were talking about education. I don't know the woman's name, but I know her last name is Pantoja. She came from an organization called Aspira. And she said that for our communities, Black and brown communities, education, regardless of what the education is, it breaks the barrier, but it is the passport out of poverty. But secondly to that, the extraordinary thing of why does education now then enslave you when it comes to the loans and the high price gouging of education to try to get us out of this. And they figured out once we started to learn and read and write and count and build businesses and build enterprises, because most of these people in the street, you know, most of this stuff becomes illegal because what? Because they don't want us to get rich. Now all of a sudden you look at things that held me down, that I said that were legalized, right? Talking about what could have incarcerated me. And that's one of the reasons why I got into public office as well, because I knew that the cannabis industry was gonna be a problem for people that were black and brown and looked like me. And then evidently, look what happened. I ended up full circle, being almost incarcerated because of a low-level marijuana crime, to writing the most comprehensive and best ordinance. I think I like to toot our horn, me, myself, Justin Hurst, Orlando Ramos, and Katie Walsh, of the best ordinance written for the city of Springfield. Granted, we are not part of the process of the RFP to gain a host community agreement, so I just want to make sure and just put that out there. That got nothing to do with me, but realistically, when I was the chairman of economic development for 5 years while I was on the council, those were the things that we were working on to make sure that we had the equitable standpoint to sit on to say that we have a chance, we have a fair shake. So you're right. I know exactly what you're talking about because that was me. And that still is me, regardless of me being a senator or not. I've never been in a position to tell the story, but now I have a chance to go into the halls of the State House and to file bills that legislatively can have an impact not only for Springfield, but for all black and brown communities for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things that I would add, having been a teen mom who was on welfare and who used welfare to get through college. Now this was pre-welfare reform of the 90s, and there's been a lot of change since. It was individuals who I met along my journey who either were in that system or knew of that system that was able to introduce me to loopholes. Now, when the wealthy use loopholes and tax loopholes, they're considered smart and business savvy.
Right.
But when poor people use loopholes,
True.
we're considered criminal and
Exactly.
those who are trying to get over. But I am grateful for those individuals in my life who said, okay, you can use this system, which is meant to be temporary. It's to give you a leg up and a lift to help you get through, and that's how I used it. That, you know, you can get benefits if you do X, Y, and Z. So while you're in school, they say if you're looking for a job, you can get benefits. So you make sure you go out once a week, you get this form signed that you are out looking for work, and then therefore you can continue your benefits because they wouldn't give them to me for being a college student, right? Because that's the way the system, as you said, is structured. Sometimes it's to keep you within a certain position and keep you, you know, oppressed. So I'm not telling anyone to do anything obviously illegal. These are the systems that have been set up. So how do we know the system, be informed, and figure out ways within the system to legitimately get where we need to go? And that's about closing the information gap, like where the senator started. And also the importance of knowledge and information is that we can then, as a community, create safety nets. Right, so if you get kicked off the rolls for the daycare rolls, the welfare rolls for daycare because you earn $3 more, then as a community, what systems are we building to meet individuals who fall off the rolls, who need that child care, and are within this income gap or this income bracket? So there's work for the individual, there's work for the community, and certainly those within power. Within the system, leveraging that power to make policy changes. So I would also add that piece as well.
This gentleman had a question. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. And peace, family.
Peace.
So many parallel stories, different hoods. I think I won the award for who drove the furthest to see you. I drove 4.5 hours yesterday from my hometown of Rochester, New York for this conversation, so thank you. Thank you, STCC, for pulling this together. So my name is Dr. Lomax R. Campbell. I'm a management scholar practitioner that works at the intersection of anti-racist organizing and economic development. Last 11 years in workforce and economic development spaces professionally, and a serial entrepreneur. I've been working in the Valley, Springfield, East Hampton, Holyoke for the last 17 months on rapid recovery planning work. You all are probably familiar with that project, and a number of other community-based strategies to organize communities. So 3 comments and question areas, and this is definitely a structural and systemic issue that was intentionally designed the way it is. So we're going to talk about 3 structural and systemic opportunities that STCC and the good senator's office can collaborate on. The first one has to do with entrepreneurial ecosystem building. When we start talking about economic development, community building, most communities that I've been working in across the country are still deploying strategies like industrial recruitment that goes back to the 1930s. And we know that what got us here won't get us where we need to go, because again, it was intentionally constructed the way it is. And so over the last 5 or 6 years, Kauffman Foundation has been leading up the creation of a new industry called entrepreneurial ecosystem building. And there's talks here about how to do that, and it's inclusive by design. But the challenge is that the people who are responsible for serving entrepreneurs, serving the workforce, whether we're talking economic developers, philanthropy, municipalities, colleges and universities, et cetera, and those other players, the people that work in them are confused about what collaboration looks like because they're so siloed and have a history and a culture of being organization specifically centric. So that's an opportunity. I would love to hear how your office intends to support collaboration by design with the customer, the small business community in mind, to begin to shift that industrial recruitment posture. The second one is around marketing. Most of my doctoral research, master's research and work has been in strategic marketing management, niche marketing. And the businesses, as you've already mentioned, would typically say, I didn't even know all of this was here at STCC. I didn't know all of this was here at Valley Venture Mentors or any of the other organizations, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. I didn't know that this was available to me. So that's the first problem. I didn't know the pathways to access it because no one's talking to me. And part of this is structural because when philanthropy funds these activities, a lot of times there's no allocation for marketing. There's no allocation or support for capacity building within the institution. And so how do we change that structural allocation challenge? Because we don't know you build a better mousetrap, folks won't run to take advantage of it because they don't know about it. So that's a big problem. Resources needed to be expended for network marketing. And I'm talking about the network of services available to this specific kind of business or that specific business at this stage of development, or in this community or this neighborhood, or these types of activities that those businesses are pursuing. I think you understand what I'm saying. So how you plan to support that, or if you're willing to support that. And then the last thing, and I'll put on my anti-racist organizer hat, we tend to take a one-size-fits-all universal approach to every problem. And the truth is, talking back about equity, justice, inclusion, diversity, belonging, and access, right? Strategically focusing on the unique context of a 3-person food-based business or the brother here that runs a haberdashery downtown, and understand that he's at the stage of development where he's trying to hire his first person. Well, when we got the industrial recruitment mindset, we're thinking, how do we get an Amazon to come here? We're not thinking about how we use incentives to help him hire his first 2 employees, and then also provide the technical assistance to coach him on all of the bureaucracy that you gotta have. Now you gotta have workers' comp insurance. Now you have to have a payroll account, which is separate from your operating account. These are things that you don't even think about when you think about bringing a big company here. So how do we deploy niche strategies that are culturally relevant and geo-specific and use that ecosystem to discern when Valley Venture Mentors need to focus on these kinds of activities, or PVPC or somebody else like Urban League need to focus on these kinds of activities. And through collaboration, we hit the patchwork of our diversity.
It's awesome. It's something that a lot of us have recognized, like I would say the new generation of folks that kind of are in the conversation in the past 5 years, that for some reason the same old gang has been running the same old streets. it's as in the most layman's terms that you can put it, right? And when you become all powerful sometimes, and you can come from the grassroots level, because I've seen people progress and get to a certain point that they lose the grasp of, you know, what the feeling is of the grass. More like people kind of lose the grip a little of what's going on. And I think that we have historically, Springfield has been a place that, you know, coalition building does exist, but to the benefit of the fact of if it's a certain grant that we're gonna go after collectively together. Once that grant is over, it's over, you know? And it's just how that kind of works on the nonprofit side. On a business development side, just now we just kind of, I would say, resurrected the Latino Chamber of Commerce. Andrew Melendez, salute to my guy. We had that building block within the Latino community for a while. When I was younger, you know, those systems were in place, but slowly over time, when we looked at that mindset of the one-size-fits-all kind of situation, what ended up happening is that Black and brown institutions historically were just closing little by little, because then if you look at it outside of, if you go to Rochester, right, and you look up how many nonprofits exist in Rochester?
4,000.
4,000? Look up how many exist in Springfield. Springfield has more nonprofits than the entire state of Massachusetts in one. It is not it's no shade. Everybody feels, and this is the problem, instead of coalition building, you know what, I got that great idea too, you know what, I think I could do it myself. And then all of a sudden, individuals like myself that become elected, dealing with 5, 6 organizations that are doing the same thing. But then you look at one that historically is doing that work, that always has done it, that's always got the grants, that has become kind of lost sight of the ground. And then you have individuals like Tiffany and Alicia, Black and Brown Wall Street, just to use her an example because she's in the room, or Association of Black Business Professionals and Resurrecting the Latino Chamber, that now it says, you know what, this organization, no disrespect, you've already been receiving this line item or this earmark historically for a very long time. It's time to move this money over and see what this new generation of folks are doing. Because if you're not giving the individual the opportunity to collaborate with you, then all you're doing is just swallowing up resources. And those are things that I strategically have to work on as a legislature when it comes to that budget time. But I think having discussions like this and having more roundtables, and I think what happened in the last 2 years, they basically told us don't leave our house. And then if you're not a person that owns a cell phone or owns an iPad, which technology is booming, you know, the only way we were connecting with one another was with Zoom or whatever we see on YouTube or whatever we see, depending on what we research, what the algorithm hits us on Facebook. So we have a lot of, I would say, demons, and I would call them demons, working against even our thought process. And that's just my personal opinion, right? I think that we have a lot of things at play that we never realize our phones are listening to us, depending if it's right or wrong. Obviously now, they're I would call it they're G-checking. They're G-checking information now, right? But I think that we're at a point that I think people have there's not really an option not to collaborate anymore. We're at a point in time that the only way that we're gonna get over the broomstick, obviously when we have to get married. We have to work with one another, we have to jump over the broomstick. We have to work collectively together because the collective majority is the only way we're gonna come out on top, like it or not. When we keep on talking about our communities as the Black and brown community, and not as a collective majority, ideally, we isolate ourselves. Within the Latino community, now it's Puerto Ricans are citizens, and then we have the immigrants, right? Regardless of what country you come to. But we're Latino. But then even in the black community, I've experienced is, we're black American, these guys are from Africa, or these guys are Caribbean. But then now we have more of the conversation of what? People are starting to get rid of those narratives and those stereotypes that more divide us and bringing us together. But then the entrepreneurial space has always been invaded by people that don't look like us. So then now when we start creating our own tables, yo, my man, don't create that table. What we'll do is we got 2 seats for you right here. And then you got 2 of our people that go out and say, you know what, I'm gonna go sit on those tables over there because, they giving me the in. Which, strategically, you gotta tell your peoples, right? You can't get mad at them. You know what, go sit at that table, bro. Because the way is the inside out, not the outside in. We gotta stop being firecrackers and start being the explosion. And start moving inside of these tables, understand how to strategically, you gave us 1 seat. Now how we get 2 seats? Now how we get 3 seats? Now how we get 4 seats?
And bring back the information.
And bring back the information so that, you know what? We create the table anyway.
Exactly.
And then stop. You don't have to put everything you're doing on Facebook, man. Trust me. They don't do it. Why do we do it? If you build it, they will come. And that's it. That's all I got. Sorry.
Wow.
But there's more to it, but I'm gonna hook up with you.
We have one more, and then.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Audrey.
Good morning, Audrey.
How you doing?
My man.
Thank you very much, Mr. Senator, Mr. Gomez. I appreciate everything you do. And then the other thing I appreciate about you, I own a small business in downtown Springfield. I'm happy to be in Springfield, but what makes me so happy, you are the first elected man that's coming in my store to ask me how I do it. I came on this city because the city I was doing very well back on the day in that city, but I have all my correspondent and supplier. They always told me about the men clothing business that used to be in Springfield, but all of them go away. And I come in on the city, I think I was going to get support by the elected official for the city, but you was the first one to come into my business and check it out and see how I'm doing. I appreciate that a lot. And then I have Mr. Melendez, I have Freddie, they always come and support me. And what makes me happy about those guys, and they always check on me. And not even that, what I come in to do in city Springfield, I do it. I do what I have to do. Because at any time somebody come in my store in Springfield, told me they have a need for an outfit, I will go beyond to give them the outfit, to get the outfit ready for them. At any time, at any moment, even night and day. I remember back on 2 years ago when the pandemic started, I came to my store to pick up something and I find a father in my door at the store. He said, "Sir, I know you closed, but you have to help me." I said, "Sir, we closed, this state is shut down. Basically, what you need?" Say, "I lost my son. I need 12 white suits. All my suppliers closed. And that's that type of suit, I don't care. I don't keep them on the store. I know where to get them." And my wife said, "You have to tell him you can't do nothing." I said, "Babe, he lost his son. He need them." I said, "Give me until Monday." That was on Saturday night. And give me until Monday. Monday, I called one of my suppliers at home. I said, "Can you help me out?" They said, "Yeah, I can help you. Anything you want, Audrey." And I helped the family. And that's give me an example. In the middle of the process, every day, even the city was shut down. I came from Connecticut. I come to the store and sit over there. And I help a lot of people that need clothes to bury their loved one for the pandemic. I was so happy about that hiding over there. And I appreciate that, Mr. Gomez, you come into my store many times and check on me. And the reason why I appreciate that, because I found out you are an elected officer that want to help people in Springfield. And same as me, I found out anybody that come in my way need my help. I always stand up as one man guy operation to help them. I will ask you, with your office, that type of the business like me, and if you can have a surrogate, sometime that's go around to talk to those business owners like me. I'm struggle technically, like for marketing and things like that. But anything else you guys will need of what I do, I will stand up over there as a one-man operation to provide that to you, day and night. But I need you guys help too in the city. I'm in your city. And I do my best with my business to provide you guys any service that you guys want. But on the same time, I can't do all by myself. I need you guys help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, the stories are extraordinary just like that. You know, funny thing is, the first time I ever bought into Ray suits, I never owned a suit. I went to Suit Up Springfield. I got my first jacket for free because when I ran, I didn't. Okay, I got a suit. I'm the guy that wears J's and sweatsuits and baseball hats, man. I'm just like anybody else, right? And I got my first suit, and then I remember when I was at the council, you know, and I'm tapped out, broke, right? I got 3 kids, and trying to figure it out. And I was buying these suits, and I ended up walking into Arjun's one time because I was going into Deems, and I told Arjun, I said, listen, I'm gonna run for state senate. I ain't tell nobody yet. I said, I'm running for state senate, and I need new suits because I gotta look the part, right, in my mind, right? And without Arjun realizing, he took a chance with me, man, and he made me fit the part. He helped me, and he worked with me on my budget. You know what I mean? He worked with me, and that's why I continuously send him people. I continuously support people that support our community. Because there was one time when an individual came into the store and says, listen, and he didn't have to do it. It's just, you know, how our communities work. Say, yo, listen, take it, but remember, come back. You know, we're used to giving on the arm, you know, and sometimes when we give on the arm, we don't realize that that person still got to pay bills. That person still got to pay rent.
Right.
But he's showing love because the way that we were taught, the way our culture is raised, is each one teach one and come from the heart.
That's right.
So, you know, when it comes to business, the best advice I could give y'all when it comes to small entrepreneurial, don't go to Vista Print because it's going to cost you $15, man. Pay $25. You don't know whose kid you're feeding. Yeah, I got to go to Walmart to grab this ketchup because it's $1.59, but I don't want to go to Medina's because they got it for $1.75. I got to hit the dollar store because they got it for like $1 cheaper. If you really are an entrepreneur, sometimes, and I understand money is short, pay the extra couple cents because you don't know exactly who you're keeping employed, whose doors you're keeping open, and who you're feeding. And at the same time, that's real economic development, is keeping the money within your community. So, and I'll end it with this. There's this big word that keeps on being thrown around called gentrification. It ain't gentrification if we're doing it ourselves. So there's nothing wrong with improving and redeveloping your community. So while they're saying the narrative of that our communities are killing ourselves on blocks that we don't own, put yourself in a position and own the block that you live on. God bless. Thank you.
Wow. So something tells me that this is the start of a series of conversations that I hope you will allow us to continue to host and bring, of course, to other spaces within the community. I think that there's a lot of substantive solutions and questions that arose here and emerged here today that the team will take back and synthesize to better understand the needs and the challenges that you are all grappling with, so that the senator can use that information to set his legislative agenda in a way that will help uplift communities of color, BiPOC communities, and certainly BiPOC businesses. So stay tuned and be on the lookout for that, because this was a dynamic conversation, and I really thank all of you on behalf of Dr. Cook and the STIC community. Thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you so much for speaking from your heart, speaking your truth, putting it plain, and talking about what the real issues were. And Senator Gomez, I just want to thank you for always showing up as your authentic and real Boricua self.
Thank you. Thank you. I had I had a great conversation, and honestly, these kind of forums, and it doesn't have to be me, right? Anybody can sit up here, and ideas, and please reach out to my staff. I really mean it. We're here to serve, and I'm humbled to serve this community. So, for the most part, business community, please reach out. I will introduce you to individuals that are really necessary doing this work on the ground, and also the ones that really want to help you succeed. And thank you so much, Dr. Butler. You're an amazing host, and I look forward to catching you on our next show. And please support STCC. And this was being recorded, so this link,
Yes.
please share.
Yes. Armando, you had something to say?
Yeah, no, I just want to thank everyone. I'm obviously on the senator's staff, but this type of forum, this type of conversation is very, very important to me. COVID-19 has impacted negatively a lot of businesses, but it's also sprouted new business owners, right? So people, they had their back against the wall and had to take action and open up their small businesses, right?
True.
And many times our people don't lack motivation, they just lack information. And so we got to come up with a better marketing strategy to get these resources out there. Senator and Doctor, thank you so much.
Thank you. There's information in your folders, so please go through them when you have some time. We have fed your mind, and now we are feeding your bodies. Make sure you take some breakfast home with you.
Take 2 or 3.
Take 2 or 3, feed the family. And
Please don't be shy, please. Thank you so much. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for being here.